Hello, welcome back to my beautiful book channel. I haven't posted in a minute. I'm sorry. I know I said I was going to post something every single week, but then when summer ended, that kind of went away. But we're back and I'm going to try and post not every single week. With school, I can't do that, and I also don't have enough ideas. But I will try and post more often and not disappear for like another several months like I did. But today's video is my yearly wrap-up of all the books I read in 2025 because it's New Year's Eve, and I did this last year. I just did it before I had this channel, so it's on my old one. I'll put a link somewhere in the description. So let's go ahead and get started. And I separated it out by months this year, at least for some of it, so it's easier. So instead of having all of the books with me right now, I just have January out, and then I'll have like cuts between each month. I read 53 out of my reading goal. That was 50, so I passed it, and I'm very proud of myself because last year my reading goal was also 50. I only read 37, so that's really good. And bear with me if you watched my video from last year, possibly. I'm really bad at like explaining things and talking about books I've read because I don't remember like everything. So if I have to read the back of the book, that's why, in order to give you enough information. Okay, so book number one, the first book that I read in 2025 was Hate Mail by Donna Machete. This was a 5-star read, and anytime someone says, oh, like what's an underrated book that you don't see a lot on social media that's really good, I always say this one because it was so amazing. Like, it's so good that when I found out that this is the author's first and only book, my jaw dropped. I was so shocked because the writing is just so well, and there's like a plot twist, and it was really good and made me shocked. It might be obvious to like literally anybody but me, but since it wasn't obvious to me, it was great. But basically this follows Luca and Naomi. We only get Naomi's point of view though, and basically her and Luca were pen pals that were set up when they were in 5th grade. But Luca didn't want to have to send the emails like his school was forcing him to, so he sent her a hate email. Well, not email. He sent her a hate letter, and then that became like their thing, and they sent hate letters to each other well until like their 20s, and then he mysteriously stopped sending the letters, and then we get like flashbacks between the past and their old letters and then the present when she mysteriously gets another letter from him again at her place of work, which is like the news station because she's a meteorologist, and she tries to figure out who he is and goes on like this entire mission to figure out where he lives now, and it's like a whole thing. Moving on. Then I read one that isn't so underrated. I almost picked up the wrong book because they're the same color. I read Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Unpopular opinion, kind of. I like this one better than the movies, if I'm being completely honest. But basically, if you don't know, it follows Charlie and Bailey, and they met 2 times before the actual plotline of this book in like the prologue. And first they met in the airport, and he was like really irritated with her and she was irritated with him. Then they saw each other at the movie theaters when they were both dating other people like 2 years later. And then a year after that, they both end up working at this water park resort, and then they actually become friends. And they also bet on Bailey's friend. I low-key forgot her name, probably because I couldn't pronounce it. But they bet that her friend and this other guy that they're working with are going to get together, and that her friend is going to cheat on her boyfriend with that guy because Charlie has this theory that boys and girls can't be just friends. And then like soon after that, they end up fake dating because Bailey is like really annoyed with her mom's new boyfriend Scott and wants to piss him off. So they start fake dating to piss him off. It's great. I don't remember if I said it already, but that's a 5-star too. We have lots of 5 stars and 4 stars. I'm not very hard to please. Like it is very easy for me to rate things very high. Okay, next book is for the boys of Tom and lovers. We have Collided by Mary Wayne. And this book was really, really good as well. And the second book, Mended, came out on like the 20th. But I haven't read it or ordered it or anything because I have books from Christmas to read. I would have pre-ordered Mended for Christmas though, but until it was too late and I wasn't allowed to get anything else for Christmas because I already, like, my parents had already gotten me enough stuff, I thought that the book wasn't coming out until December 30th because I swear, like, I looked it up and that's what it said, but apparently it was wrong because it came out on the 20th. So that's why I haven't read that one yet, but basically I say it's for the Boys of Tom lovers because they are very Johnny and Shannon, and just, like, the setup of the story is also like Boys of Tom, because this also ends in a cliffhanger. And then, like, the next book is going to be about the same couple, but then the next 2 books after that are going to be about a couple that's already together in this book in the past. So it's kind of similar formatted in that way, if you understand what I'm saying. And basically it follows Hope and Heath. And Hope is basically this really shy girl at school who reads romance books, and she doesn't have any friends until Maria comes and talks to her and becomes her friend. And Maria is basically the girl that those next 2 books are going to be about, 'cause she's with, like, Sebastian, which is Heath's best friend. And then, like, Heath is, like, traumatized. His sister is dead. He's doing drugs, which sounds like Joey, not Johnny, because honestly I think Heath is a mix of, like, all 3 boys, with the dead sister and the drugs, but then he's also like Johnny and just the way that he is with the girl, you know. And Hope is like Shannon. So there's that. And I never related to a character more than I did Hope in this book because of, like, her social problems. And I really loved that, except for the part where I kind of felt like I was going to bawl my eyes out because I related so much, but it was fine. It was cool. It was an experience. Okay. And basically she also has an abusive dad as well, so that's also similar to Shannon, except it's a little different because with her abusive dad, he doesn't actually live with them anymore, but he'll, like, show up again randomly, like, asking for money so he can buy alcohol. And I gave it a 4.5 star. Okay, then next I read To Love Jason Thorne, and this one is the first, like, lower rating one, not because there was anything wrong with it, it wasn't quite how I was expecting it going into it because of the description of the book. And then also, like, I never thought about it again after I finished reading it, which affects my rating sometimes, because if it's not memorable, then why give it that high of a rating? To Love Jason Thorne's by Ella Mays, I think, or it's Maisie, I don't know. This is, like, the first one I might have some trouble trying to say what it's about. I might have to read the back, but we're gonna try first. So basically it follows Jason and Olive. I didn't remember the girl's name, that's why I had to check. And basically he was her brother's best friend growing up, and she always had a crush on him, even though he's, like, 5 years older than her. So obviously that was something that was never gonna happen because, like, ew. But then he moved away, so then they didn't see each other again until the events of this book, and they reconnect because she basically is a romance author, and she wrote a book based off of him and what she imagined it would have been like if they fell in love when they were a little bit older. And then it's being made into a movie, and he is who the producers automatically picked out to play the main character in the movie adaptation because he's, like, a famous actor. And so then they reconnect that way, and then they end up having to fake date as well because he is, like, ruining his reputation because pictures were leaked of him, like, hooking up with some random girl in an alleyway, and it's, like, this whole thing, and he needs to fake date Olive to fix his reputation. In fact, it wasn't even fake dating, it was fake engagement. They were fake engaged to fix his reputation, and the reason why it started was because he was carrying her drunk out of, like, a club when they went there together to hang out, and so people snapped pictures and posted it online and were already assuming that they were together. So his, like, what's it called? Why can I not remember what the PR person for famous people is? Do I need to grab King of Sloth up there early to look and see? Publicist, there we go. Publicist. His publicist is the one who was like, this would be a great idea. Something I should probably say too, though, is that the reason why it wasn't what I was expecting it to be was because I didn't know about the fake dating aspect at all, because it doesn't say that on the back of the book anywhere. I just thought it was gonna be like about the movie process and them falling in love and him finding out that the story was about him. And then next we have Ready or Not by Cara Bastoni. I don't know how to pronounce her last name either, really. But basically, this book follows this girl, what's her name? Eve. And basically, she got pregnant from a random hookup. And then she, like, goes to tell said hookup that she's pregnant, but he actually has a girlfriend that he's on and off with. And they were off when they, like, hooked up and she got pregnant. So she's, like, stressing because she was picturing them falling in love and, like, raising this child together. But what ends up happening is she spends a lot of time with her best friend's brother, Seb, that she's known since childhood. And those two are who falls in love. And he's, like, there for her for the entire pregnancy. And it was the cutest thing. And he's just so in love with her. I remember that. And it was just so cute. One thing, too, was that, like, the reason why he was the one that was there for her during the pregnancy and not his sister, her best friend, was because the sister best friend is having fertility issues. So as soon as she heard that Eve was pregnant, she kind of shut down and was a little bit upset, understandably so. So that's why she wasn't really able to be there for her friend 100% because she was hurting. And I gave that book 3 stars. The Long Game by Elena Armas. This was only a 2, and there wasn't really anything wrong with it. It's just 2 because I was, like, really bored. Like, this book was just boring. And I've seen other people on TikTok and stuff say the same thing. So I guess that's a pretty popular opinion. But basically what happens is Adeline, our main character, she was, like, working for the Miami Flames, which her dad was, like, the coach or something. I don't even really remember. But basically, she beat up the mascot, like, really aggressively. This sounds so dumb. So basically, her dad was, like, absolutely furious with her, understandably so, and shipped her off to another state. I think it was, like, South Carolina or something. I don't really know. North Carolina. I was close. And so she goes over there, and she gets put in a cabin, but it ends up being, like, right near where the guy lives. So then they are, like, forced proximity and they fall in love. I'm gonna have to read the back of this book because that's pretty much all I got for you. Let's see. Adeline Reyes has spent years perfecting her daily routine. Wake up at dawn, drive to the Miami Flames FC offices, try her hardest, go home, and repeat. But her routine is disrupted when a video of her having an altercation with the team's mascot goes viral. Rather than fire her, the team's owner, who happens to be her father, sends Adeline to middle of nowhere, North Carolina, where she's tasked with turning around the struggling local soccer team. That's right, I forgot about that. Her plans crumble upon discovering that the players wear tutus to practice, impractical, keep pet goats, messy, and are terrified of Adeline, counterproductive. They're also 9-year-old girls. To make things worse, also in town is Cameron Caldani, recently retired professional goalkeeper whose presence is something of a mystery. Cam is the perfect candidate to help Adeline, except that after one very unfortunate first encounter involving a rooster, Cam's leg, and Adeline's car bumper, he's set on running her out of town. But helping this ragtag children's team is Adeline's road for redemption, and she is playing the long game with or without Cam's help. So yeah. I forgot that he was involved with, like, the team too. So that's another forced proximity thing. And also I remembered right before I started reading, he's British, so that's, like, fun. And I also specifically remember, usually I can't imagine accents in books. Like, Boys of Tommen, couldn't imagine accents while I'm reading, but I can when I look back on scenes now. Like, when I think about them in my head. Same with, like, The Defender and The Keeper by... No, what? The Keeper is the one that's not out yet. The Striker and the Defender by Anna Hong. But with this, at the beginning of the book, I was able to picture him talking in a British accent because Exo Kitty Season 2 came out. So all I was picturing was Minho's voice. But then when Exo Kitty was, like, done and over with and I wasn't, like, obsessing about it as much anymore, I was no longer able to picture him talking in the British accent. Last book of January, we have The Moment Promised by Amber Evergreen. This was her first ever book that she released, and I feel like in some aspects you can tell with like one specific scene that was really odd. I gave this book a 3, but I'm just gonna go over the story first. So basically this follows Adeline, same name as the other girl but spelled differently, and Finn, and basically they're childhood best friends. They're basically just, I always said this book is If He Had Been With Me if Finny didn't die. Like, that's what it was. Adeline and Finn, Autumn and Finny, same thing, same energy. But basically what they do is they go on a trip for the summer and they decide that they're going to hook up during the summer, but when they got back home it was going to be over. But then that becomes a problem when they fall in love. And we also get some flashbacks from when they were kids as well. It like kind of goes back and forth, so we get to see them when they were younger. They're like 18, about to go off to college in this book if I remember correctly. So around the same age as Autumn and Finny too. Great. But basically the weird scene that I was talking about is they were on the trip and there was this weird moment where she hopped out in the road while it was raining, and she took soap and like shampoo and conditioner out of her suitcase and she started showering with all of her clothes on in the rain. Like the rain was supposed to be the shower water, and she was just doing this for like 5 minutes while Finn just kind of watched her and was like, "What are you doing?" So that was like really odd to me. Just a 3 because again it is kind of forgettable and I didn't think about it at all after reading it, which is the case of a lot of books that I read this year. So, you know, I would still recommend this book though. Same with like Ready or Not, I would recommend that too. The Long Game, not so much. And I would recommend this too. I should probably start saying if or not I would recommend something. That would probably be helpful for the wrap up, you know. Okay, first book I read in February was Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and the only thing I have to say about this book was that it was the biggest disappointment. Not to say the book was necessarily bad, okay? It's just, compared to Yours Truly, which was the book in the Part of Your World series before this one, because this is the last book in Part of Your World, I didn't say that, but they're interconnected standalones. I never read Part of Your World, which is, you know, the first book. I just read Yours Truly, and then I decided to pick this one up. I gave it a 2.75. The characters' names are Emma and Justin. Basically, the plot starts off strong because Justin made a tweet on Twitter about how he has bad luck with love because every single time he's with somebody after they break up, that person finds their soulmate. And Emma sees that and she has the same problem, so they start texting each other, and then they think, what if we meet up and we start like dating just for the summer and see if after we break up if it will like cancel out somewhere, and then afterwards we'll find our soulmates because we dated each other. Which honestly kind of smart. And I was thinking that this was a very good plot device, and it still is. It's just the problem with this unique plot is that as soon as they like were starting to fall in love, and that entire fake dating to cancel each other out just got thrown out the window, the book sucked. Because, okay, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but her whole thing was she had the avoidant attachment style. So there was a big conflict because of that, and I feel like that low-key just ruined the whole book for me. So that's all I have to say, is it wasn't anywhere close to as good as Yours Truly, and that's why it was disappointing. But I didn't hate it, it was fine. We embark on a very long journey because I started reading Addicted Calloway. Don't mind me, I got a little excited. So first book in Addicted Calloway is Addicted to You. I'm like ready. I'm so excited. This is like the best day ever since I get to talk about this. But basically this beautiful book, it follows Lily and Lo. And Lo is a alcoholic and then Lily is a sex addict. And because of those two factors, when they were seniors in high school, they started fake dating because Lo's dad was going to send him away because of his alcohol addiction that he had. So they made like this whole story like, oh, he doesn't drink that much anymore because Lily helped him because they're in love. And then, you know, obviously if people think that they're in a relationship, they won't suspect Lily as a sex addict and think that she's sleeping around a ton because why would she cheat on him? And then the book takes place 3 years later, and they're juniors in college, and they end up falling in love, and they're just struggling with their addictions, and they're enabling each other, and it's a fun time. And you've probably seen people say, oh, the first book in Addicted Callaway, it sucks, it's a horrible book, but you just have to move on to the next books, and then it will get good after book 3. But I loved this book. Like, yes, all of the other books in the series are better after you get past the 3rd book because the plot starts picking up, but the first 3 books I didn't think were bad at all. Like, I was into it right away. I was on like chapter 2 and I was already invested in the characters and the story. But Addicted to You was a 4. Moved on to the 2nd book, Ricochet, which was only a 2.75 originally, but right now I would say it's more like a 3. And basically the only reason it was so low is because this book, Lo, is at rehab. And he's trying to get better for his addiction, and then Lily is at home and she's trying her best to not cheat on Lo because she can't have sex the entire time he's gone, and she's like really having a hard time. And her sister Rose, who now knows about her addiction, and her boyfriend Connor, just trying to help her and find her a therapist, so she starts going to one, and she's just trying to do that and also get close with her family and her little sister Daisy again. And that's basically just what this book is, and it was like really good, and look how pretty the cover is. But at the same time I was reading Ricochet, The Charlie Method by Elle Kennedy came out, which is the last book in Campus Diaries, which is the 2nd spin-off of Off Campus. And basically this follows Charlie, aka Charlotte, Beckett, and Will, and they are in a polyamorous relationship that started because they were talking on a dating app, and she didn't know that it was them, but she did know them in real life because Will was her lab partner, and then Beckett she absolutely hated, and it was just so good. I love that trope so much. It's like one of my favorite tropes, when the characters are like texting each other but they don't know that it's them when they know each other in real life. So that's what this was, and I loved it very much. Gave this a 3.75, and it probably would have been a 4 or maybe even a 5-star read if it wasn't till like the last 100 pages, because what happened was they were officially in the polyamorous relationship and everything, but for some reason towards the end it was just Beckett and Charlie, and Will, he was just gone. He disappeared. It was like he never even existed. Like for 100 pages straight, we did not get a single chapter in his point of view, I swear. And it was just like he didn't matter anymore, and like Elle Kennedy just forgot about him. So that was annoying. And then there was something where he was done dirty at the end that I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it. So that just like ruined the book for me, and it was really unfortunate. But I don't hate it like most people do. Like most people hate it because it's a polyamorous relationship, but I don't hate those. Like I've read a couple now and I've liked both of them, so I'm not a poly relationship hater. And then another plot point was basically she was adopted from China by this family, and she was going to find her like biological brother and reconnect with him, and everything was fine at first, but then he ended up being like really resentful towards her because he was kind of jealous that she got handed a good life and he didn't. So that was something else non-romance related that was happening here. And we also got a really fun Blake and Wyatt crumb that I really enjoyed because their book comes out in March. I pre-ordered it using my Target gift card that I got for Christmas. I'm so excited. I feel like I've been waiting for Blake and Wyatt's book for ages. Let's move on to the rest of Addicted Callaway now. And these are like the ones that aren't going to be like separated by months because it took me several months to read these. Like, are you kidding? It's 10 of them. So I'm not going to like say different months for each one for these. Before we move on, I would recommend The Charlie Method. Okay, Addicted for Now, the book where things start to pick up. Basically what happens here. Also, just like to say this, if you haven't read any of Addicted Callaway, these next books, I'm going to have to spoil things that happen in this book in order to tell you what the next books are about, if that makes sense. And it was kind of like that with the first couple too, so just like to warn you if you don't want to know like anything. Basically, this book starts out with Lo has come back from rehab, and Lily is like super excited and so happy to be having sex with him again. But the thing is that Lo has to follow a list that was recommended by Lily's therapist, but he can't tell her what the no's are on the list. But basically, it's just things like they can only have sex first thing in the morning and before bed at night. They can only do it once, so she can only orgasm once, not multiple times. And they can't do it in public places, only in like the bedroom. And that's like pretty much it. So Lily is kind of frustrated when he doesn't let her do things, and he's like staying strong. He's not enabling her anymore. And just everything is going well, except for one little thing, and it's that Lo kept getting texts from this mysterious number saying that he knows Lily's secret and about her addiction and calling her a whore and a slut and all of these things. So they're spending the book trying to figure out who it is that's doing this. And then towards the end, they go on a spring break trip to Cancun, Mexico for a week. And then Lily starts getting texts from this person as well, which scares the crap out of her. And then she's like terrified that they're gonna leak her secret because that's what they've been threatening to do. And then, spoiler warning again, it happens. They leak her sex addiction. It's on national television. And it was so sad. She was crying so hard. She was so upset. Like, I sound like I'm gonna cry. She was so upset that Lo had to give her medicine to put her to sleep. And that was the moment that Daisy found out about her addiction, because she's been in the dark this whole time. So that's how she found out. And then when they're trying to go back home, paparazzi is at the house. So then they have to go to like Reich's apartment or something. And then there's paparazzi at their mom, Samantha's house, and, you know, everything. And then they're, like, so famous now. Paparazzi won't leave them alone. Daisy needed to get a bodyguard to escort her to school, and then Lily ended up needing one as well. And then, getting ready for the rage. Samantha takes away Lily's trust fund, and she can't get it back unless her and Lo get engaged right now and then get married in a year. And she also has to do a press conference apologizing. And she also has to ditch Dr. Banning, which was her therapist, and go to a different therapist that they picked out who's literally a man. That was a 3.75. Next up, we have my first 5-star in Addicted Calloway, and it's also the first book not about Lily and Lo, which is kind of ironic because Lily and Lo are my favorites. But this one is basically about Rose and Connor. And basically what's happening in this book is that Rose, because of Lily's addiction, her clothing line, Calloway Couture, was released from multiple stores. And, like, they aren't selling her clothes anymore, which is a bit of a problem. So in order to help that, Rose decided to sign a contract with this guy named Scott Danwright, who wanted to do a reality show called Princesses of Philly on, like, Rose and Lily and just all of the sisters and their men. And basically all of them choose to do it except for Poppy, which is their other sister who doesn't have books. And her husband Sam, they don't do it because they have a daughter named Maria that's like 4 at this point, and they don't want her in the spotlight. So everyone else just does it, and at first they are still living where they were, but then Scott decided that he wanted them to move all into a townhouse, so all 6 of them and Scott are living together. And the reason why Scott is living there too is because his entire thing is that one of the people in charge of the network wanted there to be a love triangle, so he's playing the role of Rose's like fake ex-boyfriend and is going to be in competition with Connor. So that's like a whole thing. And so this is just them and Princesses of Philly doing this reality show, and Scott being an absolute a-hole. Like, the hate that I have for this man, I don't hate anybody more than him other than Mark Allen. He's the only one I hate more than Scott. And if you read this book, you'll understand why. And then we move on to Hot House Flower. Hot House Flower, I gave a 4.75. Hot House Flower is the first book about Reich and Daisy. They have an age gap. In this book, Daisy is 18 and a half. Reich is freshly 25. This book takes place 2 years after Kiss the Sky. We get a huge time skip, but it's fine because we end up seeing what happened, and there's 2 years later. I'll get into that when we get there. But basically what happens here, there is a cut because I accidentally clicked off of something trying to clear a notification for our Ring doorbell. But basically, Daisy has some PTSD because of something that happened in Kiss the Sky, and Reich is helping her through it, so they've gotten even closer than they were in the previous books when they were friends and everything. And then also at this time, Daisy is going to Paris for Fashion Week, and it's her first time she's gone alone without her mother since she's 18 now and graduated high school, and she's like feeling a bit nervous but also excited at the same time. And then like there's a going away party for her and stuff. And then she's feeling left out by her sisters. Lo is yelling at Reich because he's flirting with Daisy too much, but also because of something else, another issue that they have going on involving their dear father, Jonathan, and stuff. And basically, Daisy goes and she goes to Fashion Week, and things are going horrible. Especially when she gets kicked off of, like, the fashion show because the person claimed, like, the person putting the clothes on her, I don't know what it's called, decided that she was too big for the clothes and then stripped her of all of her clothes in front of everybody. Like, there was men in the room and everything, but they just took all of her clothes off. So she calls Reich crying and tells him what's happened. But then, like, the call disconnects, so Reich, understandably, like, kind of freaks out, so he books a flight to Paris and surprises her there. And it was a really great time, and it was amazing, and obviously they fall in love. Also, Reich didn't go alone. Lo and Connor came with him, too, because he said he wouldn't be able to leave without raising alarm, so he had to tell them. Move on to Thrive, which is a 5-star. This is, like, other than Kiss the Sky, this one is, like, my favorite. This book, we go back to Lily and Lo, and basically this is the one where we see what happened in the time skip between Hot House Flower. But first, we start all the way back after when Addicted for Now ended. It's Lily's 21st birthday, and then we go all the way through all of the events of Kiss the Sky, Princesses of Philly, and their point of view is what we get to see. And then we get to see all of Hot House Flower and their point of view as well, and then just a little bit past that. And then, you know, like I said, the between of Kiss the Sky and Hot House Flower. 5-star read. It was really sad, though, and I would like to say I know the book is called Thrive. No one was thriving in this book. Nobody, not a single soul. We have Addicted After All, and this one is also one of my favorites. It's like a really important book in the series as well, and basically all 6 of them are living together again, but like without it being for a TV show, and they're living on their own terms, and they're living in a gated community to help Daisy with her PTSD, so she feels safer, and it has like really good security and all of that. And this is the book where we get to see Mr. Garrison Abbey for the first time, which is really exciting, and that's what makes the book so important. And this is also the book where Rose and Connor and Lily and Lo start to have children and start forming their own families. So that's really exciting as well. We have Fuel the Fire, and this is the next and last Rose and Connor book. And we basically just get to see them with their newborn daughter. And what they're doing in this book, basically, is that after Lily and Lo's baby Maximoff was born, rumors started that the baby isn't actually Lo's and that it's Reich's. So they did a paternity test just to shut them up. But then Connor talked to his friend, who works for Celebrity Crush, and asked him to tell him, like, information about what celebrity crush is going to put out about them. So Henry, the friend, calls and is like, hey, so people are starting to say that the paternity test for Lillian Lowe's baby was fake. They think it's Reich's because he has Reich's hair color, as if that's not how genetics work sometimes. So basically, Connor and Rose are doing really scandalous things to put themselves in the media in exchange for Celebrity Crush to not upload that article. So that's what they spend the entire book doing. That's all it says on the back too, so nothing else much to it. I have Long Way Down, which is Daisy and Reich's second and final book. And basically in this book, we see them get engaged finally after the other two couples have been married for a while. So we get to see them enjoy their engagement, but then they're also dealing with a bit of an issue because Daisy in Fuel the Fire found out that it's going to be really hard for her to have babies like she wanted so bad because she has a cyst on her ovaries. So she ends up getting like one of them removed, and then the doctor tells her that if she wants to get pregnant naturally, she needs to do it like right now. So that's what her and Reich decide instead of letting Rose be their surrogate right away, because Rose had already offered that, which is something that made Connor really mad because why are you taking that risk? But everything ends up working out fine. They get married at the end of the book and everything is happy, sunshine, and rainbows. Sunshine and rainbows. Oh no, I didn't even write a rating for Addicted After All on here, I realize. Long Way Down is a 4. Fuel the Fire was a 3.75. I realize now that I kind of forgot to say the ratings. But Addicted After All is probably a 5, I would say. I don't know if that's the rating I actually gave, but I'm feeling a 5. Or like a 4.75, because that is such a good book. Okay, we've gotten to the last book already. She's a thick one. Some Kind of Perfect. This is basically like an epilogue book, because we get all 6 characters' point of views, and it's basically just them living their lives, still being famous, paparazzi still bothering them as usual, and now they're all having kids, and it basically goes through 10 years in this book, because we start with it being 2018, at the end it's 2028. Some people think it's boring because you are just reading about their lives, but it's been like that for a couple of books now too, but I don't know. I'm just so connected to the characters that I loved it, and this is also a 5-star, and like one of my favorites in the entire series, and it's just so dear to me. And they're also doing another reality show on their terms called We Are Calloway in this one. You don't get to see that much of it, but it is something that's there. Okay, before we move on to this next book, I have 2 things to say. 1, we're now at the end of May at this point, and 2, be prepared for the things I'm about to say, and like, I'm gonna do a non-spoiler thing, but then I'm just gonna have to like rant about spoiler stuff because oh my goodness. In case you couldn't tell, Releasing 10 came out May 27th. I started reading it May 28th and finished it like very soon into June. And, basically, this is the most recent book and the 6th book in Boys of Tommen. If you don't know, Boys of Tommen is about 10 Irish teenagers that are all very mentally ill and very much traumatized. Search up trigger warnings if you want to start the series. This one's about Lizzie and Huey. Basically, it takes place even further in the past than the other books. It starts in 1991, when Lizzie is only 3. It goes all the way to April 2004. We get to see Lizzie's entire life story in this book. We get to see all of her trauma. The lots and lots and lots of trauma. We get to see her and Huey meet when they're small little children of 6 and 7 years old. And we get to see how their love progresses and gets more mature until their love ends. That's not a spoiler, by the way. You already know from the other books right off the bat that Lizzie and Huey are not together anymore. Huey is with Katie. Anyway, it's a 5-star, according to Fable anyway. In my heart, it's really a 6-star, or an infinity star. It's just everything about this book is perfect, and there's nothing wrong with it ever. Look at all these tabs. Isn't it magnificent? Let's read the back just for extra bonus points because I want to. A love that couldn't be broken except by the truth. Lizzie Young has always felt she was too much everything. Diagnosed with bipolar disorder at a young age, she's never fit in with her family, her friends, her community. Lizzie wants to be accepted and understood, but with few family or friends in her corner, she carries her burdens and her trauma on her own. But when she meets a kind boy on the school bus, things start to look bright for the first time in her life. Hugh Biggs has an old soul and the wisdom of someone far beyond his years. A young man with a sharp mind and a firm code of ethics. He sees something in Lizzie Young that he can't resist. He wants to be her everything and shoulder her burden, and Lizzie wants that too. Lizzie and Hugh's bond seems unbreakable. Their chemistry is electric, their love is potent, and their connection is soul deep. But even the truest love can be shaken by forces beyond control. Hey, so I've actually decided I'm not going to go on a rant for spoilers because I don't want this video to be too long, and I also just don't want to really talk about it or even think about it because it makes me so sad. Of course, I recommend Boys of Tommen. I read all the other books last year, so I talked about those and the reading wrap-up of 2024, so go watch that if you want to see me talk about the other ones. So special to me. Anyway, then we have the Bad Reputation duet, which is in the same universe as Addicted Calloway. This is spin-off number 1. I got the book that has, it's technically 2 books, but I got the one that has both books into one 700-something page book because the only covers available, the separate books, have the first book is a shirtless Garrison on the cover, and we don't like that. But anyway, this book is about Willow and Garrison, and it goes from when they first meet in the timeline of Addicted After all the way to Some Kind of Perfect, the ending there, them having their daughter and being married and everything, and it's just a really fun time. I will say though that it was kind of disappointing. There was things that I was looking forward to see in Willow's point of view that we just never saw, and it just kind of felt like at times that their relationship was cuter and shown more in Addicted Calloway when it wasn't even the books about them. But it was still good. I gave it a 3-star. It just wasn't as good. And I think it's also my fault because I don't really remember a lot of stuff, and it's because I only read up to 50%. I cut it halfway to read Releasing 10 when it came out because I was in the middle of this when it released, and then I read the second half after Releasing 10, and that might have just been a bit of a mistake. And now next up we have the first out of the 2 books that I DNF'd this year. I'm going to show the other one at the very end after I've gone all through the books because I honestly don't even remember when it was that I tried reading that one and it didn't work out. But basically we have Rules of the Game by Jay Wilder, and basically the reason why I wanted to read this book was because I saw a TikTok of oh, it's this girl and she's finally deciding to tell her brother about her crush on his best friend. But, oh, it turns out that best friend is on the phone with her brother and heard everything. And I was like, ooh, I want to read that. That sounds fantastic. I want to know what his reaction was to that. And then even the back of the book is promising. I'll read it to you. He's the star hockey player, my brother's best friend, and the boy I've been in love with since I was 7. The problem? He wants nothing to do with me. Then why does he sneak into my room when I have a nightmare, gets jealous when I go on a date, and has a tattoo of my birthday on his ribs? Lucas Knight's a lot of things. He's possessive, jealous, and overprotective, and he just might be in love with me. That sounds fantastic. I was so excited. My hopes were very, very high. This was supposed to be my refresher book before I jumped into the Leica series. I got 100 pages in. And why is that? Spoiler warning in case you want to read this book, except I wouldn't really recommend it, but that's also not fair because I barely gave it a chance after this happened. The brother dies. The brother literally gets into a car and dies. And why did that happen? Because the 2 characters started kissing 30 pages in. And I thought oh, why is this happening so fast? I don't like that. I don't like, what's the point of even reading a romance book if they're already all over each other 5 seconds in? Then her brother catches them kissing and he's absolutely furious, and that's why he gets in the car and gets into an accident and ends up killing himself. And then Lucas, best friend over here, feels guilty and like it's his fault. So because of that, he stops talking to the girl for years. And then it time skips to years later when they see each other again. And things are weird. Things are tense. He still wants nothing to do with her. And it's supposed to be like a second chance. They fall back in love. Which, if I knew it was going to be like this, I might have liked the book. But since this isn't what I wanted, I DNF'd it. So I guess if that sounds appealing to you, then check it out. But it's not really fair for me to say this book sucked because, again, barely gave it a chance. Let's move on. One thing really quickly before we move on to the Like Us series, I did look up and see and try and find if there was a flashback scene of that thing I saw the TikTok about on the last book, so I could find like a page number and go ahead and read it. But there's nothing about that. All it would tell me when I looked it up was, oh, the brother dies. Like, yeah, I know. I thanks for telling me information I already was aware of. You're so helpful. So, if you've read the book and you know if it's like a flashback scene that I can go ahead and go and read and be satisfied with, let me know. Before I get going with this, unpopular opinion, I low-key like the Like Us series more than Addicted Calloway. I know. Who would ever say that? The spin-offs are never better. But it honestly kind of is to me. It's so longer, too. It's 13 books, but it's okay. Basically, it's second gen. This first book here, it follows Maximoff, which if you remember, it was Lily and Lo's first little baby boy. And in this book, he's in his 20s. He is just turned 23. And his childhood bodyguard that he's had since birth is retiring to be with his family. So Maximoff needs a new bodyguard. He's freaking out. He doesn't like change at all. And then, who comes walking through the door to be his new bodyguard? His dear mother Lily's bodyguard / Maximoff's long-term crush that he's had since he was 16 years old. Pharaoh Redford Keene. So basically, Maximoff sees him. He's freaking out even more, like, oh, no. I've had a crush on this man for 7 years, and now he comes here and is becoming my bodyguard. He's not my mom's bodyguard anymore. And the reason for that is because Lily requested for Pharaoh to be his bodyguard because he's, really good. And then also, before Pharaoh was Lily's bodyguard, he was the son of the family's carcinage doctor and was supposed to become their doctor as well, but he said, fuck medicine, I want to be a bodyguard. So that's what he did. And, bodyguard romance, they fall in love. It's the cutest thing ever. And they're keeping it a secret because no one can know. Pharaoh could get fired. Lily and Lo will be furious. Can't tell anybody about this. Oh, but until they have to. That's all I'm going to say for, if you plan on reading this book. But if you don't want to read the book, I'll go ahead and tell you what happens because it's a pretty big part of the end of this book. Basically what happens was they're doing their fundraising camp thing for charity, and then at the end of it, everyone's phones start blowing up with a new tabloid that had come out on Celebrity Crush that's accusing of Jane and Maximoff, the cousins, being in love even though they're cousins. And they're secretly hooking up. And then Lily, Lo, Daisy, Reich, Rose, and Connor are all lecturing them and actually think that this might be true because of things that they use as evidence. Because at one point in the book, they spotted marks on Maximoff and he was like, oh, it's because of a girl that you wouldn't approve of. He didn't say that to Lily and Lo. He said it to somebody else that it was a girl his parents wouldn't approve of. But Lily and Lo ended up hearing about it because the person he told, I don't even remember who he told, it was another bodyguard or something, ended up snitching. So that's how they know about that. And then they were like, oh, then who's the girl that we wouldn't approve of? Over and over again. And then Maximoff was like, I can't tell you that. And Jane does know about Maximoff and Pharaoh. She's the only one that knows because they're so close. But she wasn't going to say anything because she basically was like, I'm not going to be the reason why you and Pharaoh have to announce your relationship to our family and the public. So that's why she's just standing there silently denying the rumors, but also just not spilling her guts out about what she knows. But basically they find out, because it switches to Pharaoh's point of view, and he goes into this little camping tent that they're like, or something that they're like all in, and he like gives Maximoff a look like, are you ready? And then pulls him and they start kissing, and everybody is flabbergasted and like so mad. Lily's very hurt because you took advantage of my kid and I was the one who set you up to be his bodyguard because I thought you were going to do a good job. I could have never expected this. And so that ends up becoming a problem. Jane is like absolutely furious with Rose and Connor for thinking the rumors could have been true. Maximoff is very hurt by his parents as well, but they make up. And then we have Lovers Like Us that goes with what happened. So because of that, if you were one of the ones that skipped that little spoiler section, I would skip the description of like this entire book. So basically, because of what happened, they needed to do some damage control. Pharaoh almost got fired, but Thatcher and Akara were like, no, he's a great bodyguard, we have to keep him. So he didn't get fired, thank goodness. Basically, we can't tell the media that they're together because then Pharaoh will get famous and won't be able to do his job. So they do still need to do the damage control because of that. And said damage control is that it was Beckett's idea, Beckett Cobalt's idea, that basically they're all going to go on tour and they're going to do meet and greets and little press conferences where people like ask questions and whatnot for several months. And it's going to be Beckett Cobalt, Charlie Cobalt, they're twins, Jane and Moffy, obviously, Sullivan Meadows, and then all of their bodyguards. Because they're the ones that are like old enough to be doing this. All the other kids at this point are like still in high school. So that's what they go and do. This was also a 5-star. This one's like my favorite book in the series because I just love that we got to see all of the like kids hang out together and like their dynamics as a family. It was amazing. And like the dynamics between all of the bodyguards we got to see a lot, and it was just a really good book seeing them go and do this. We got our first Luna and Donnelly crumbs because Luna showed up on the tour bus and Donnelly gave her a tattoo. We have our last Moffy and Pharaoh book for right now, and that is Alphas Like Us. And I need to flip the page on my little notes to see what I even rated this book because I don't know. We gave it a 3. And basically this book is the one where the public knows about them now because they announced it at the end of Lovers Like Us. Because basically, I'm not going to say why, but Pharaoh already became like famous in Lovers Like Us along with the other SFO bodyguards because a video was leaked of something and it went viral online. So that isn't a problem anymore. So this book is them basically just navigating the fact that their relationship is public now. And the only reason it's a 3 is because it's also just slightly forgettable. Like, it was a really good book. I have lots of underlying things in here, but for some reason, for the life of me, I can't remember the little things that happen in this book and like any cute moments or anything like that. Okay, now we move on to the next couple. This couple only has 2 books, unfortunately, and it's Jane and Thatcher. Thatcher is also Jane's bodyguard. And basically what happens here is she is betrayed by a family member because this family member posts a whole headline thing of like Jane is finding her Cinderella, the love of her life, and we need a man for her. And then there's like this whole list of like criterias that this man needs to meet to be good enough for our Jane here. So what's happening because of that is there's really creepy men standing outside the townhouse that Moffy, Jane, Luna, and Sully all live in at this point, yelling for Jane, which security obviously finds as a bit of an issue. So Oscar suggests that Thatcher and Jane fake date so those men can go away. Jane and Thatcher are my least favorite couple though, but It isn't because I don't like them, it's just, I don't know, the other couples are just better. And when I say least favorite, I mean out of those second gen kids, because there is one couple in here where the characters aren't even second gen. This book, I gave a 4. And then their second book, Sinful Like Us, I gave a 3.75. And basically at this point, everyone knows that Jane and Thatcher are in a real relationship. Thatcher isn't her bodyguard anymore. He kind of got, not fired, but taken off of her detail, and now he's somebody else's bodyguard. He's Xander Hale's bodyguard again instead. And basically what happens here is they decide to go to Scotland because Beckett has been having a bit of a cocaine addiction because he thinks that it helps him dance better, and he takes his ballet very seriously. So they dragged him along to go to Scotland with them because they were already having to go to Scotland to tour wedding venues for Mothy and Pharaoh. So Beckett was just forced to come along, basically. And what happens here is that Thatcher does not trust Jane's new bodyguard, because basically Jane's new bodyguard is Thatcher's step-uncle, aka who Thatcher's high school girlfriend cheated on him with. And so they absolutely hate each other. Basically, he, for this trip, is going to switch places with his twin brother, Banks, because Banks is going to be on the trip because he's like the substitute bodyguard at this point, but Thatcher is supposed to stay because he's Xander's bodyguard and Xander's still in school, so he's not going on the trip. And so they switch places and hope that they don't get caught. Then we have Headstrong Like Us, which is the final book about Mothy and Pharaoh, and this is basically the book where their wedding takes place, and that's pretty much all there is to it. They're planning their wedding, they're having their wedding, and they're just like really in love. Simple as that. I gave it a 4. Now we go to the book that isn't about second gen characters that I was mentioning, and that's Charming Like Us, and basically it follows Oscar, which is Charlie's bodyguard, and then the producer of We Are Calloway, because We Are Calloway in this time frame is still going on, and Jack is the producer, and basically they fall in love, except Jack thought that he was straight until Oscar came along, which makes it all the more interesting. And basically, Oscar already had a crush on him and, like, tried to kiss him, and it was really, like, embarrassing for him because he got, like, rejected and stuff because Jack was like, I'm straight. So that was really unfortunate, and things were kind of weird between them. But then things started to get kind of back to normal, and they fall in love from forced proximity thanks to Charlie. Because Charlie asks Jack to film his very own TV show, and Charlie refuses to tell anybody why he wants to do the show, but then you find out the 2 reasons later on. Again, they're my least favorite couple. I think it's just because we only got 1 book of them, but it's fine. And we get to see our first Charlie and Roxanne snippet. They don't have books out yet, but I can't wait till we do get Charlie and Roxanne's book. So we get to see them for the first time in this, and we also just get to see a lot of Charlie in general because of this. Then we have Sully, Akara, and Banks' first book. It is a polyamorous relationship. Basically what's happening in this book is Sully wants to do all the climbing routes in the mountains that Reich did, to like follow in his footsteps, but it's dangerous, so he doesn't want her to. But basically he goes with Akara and Banks that are both like her bodyguards at this point. Banks isn't technically her bodyguard, he's still just a substitute. It's just that she's on his detail all the time, because at this point Akara has made his own security for him and isn't connected to the old one anymore. So he's like really busy, so Banks always ends up having to be a substitute for Sully, so that's why they're both here. They've started training other substitutes as well at this point, so that's why Banks is able to go on this trip. But basically it's just all 3 of them are going here, and they, in the hotel room, things start to like go afloat. Banks is interrogating Akara about his feelings for Sully. He admits his own feelings, but says he just likes her and that Akara loves her, and is like kind of denying being in love because he just wants Akara and her to be happy and to like set his feelings aside. But then what happens is Sully and Banks kiss first, and then Sully kisses Akara the very next morning. So then they have to talk about this, and they decide that she needs to choose one of them. So this entire book they're basically just competing, like The Bachelor is what they compared it to. But then at the end, Beckett ends up telling Sully, why don't you just date both of them? You can be in a poly relationship. So that's what they end up doing. Again, people hate Sully's books because they don't like poly relationships, but again, I do. So I loved her books, and I don't know if I said it already, but this was another 5-star for me. And then next up we have their second book, which is Fearless Like Us. Don't mind the hardcover. I got the hardcover on accident when I was ordering things, and it was really annoying. But basically, this is the first book where the family knows about the three of them, or at least this book follows them telling the family they don't already know going into it. And Reich is like absolutely furious, so him and Sully's relationship kind of gets tainted, but don't worry, they fix it. And everyone else is a little like, are we sure about this, about it? And just like are worried for her. So we have all that going on, but then once everyone gets used to the idea of the three of them being together, basically another problem arises because this whole website called Royal Leaks happened, and basically everybody that lives in the now apartment, because the townhouse, no spoilers, but they don't live in the townhouse anymore, so all of them that live in this new apartment together, only them are getting information about them leaked, so they figure that some way, somehow, there's a secret camera or a microphone in the house somewhere to where the people are getting this information, and then they end up figuring that out at the end and who was behind it and all of that. And then their third book is Infamous Like Us, and this one doesn't have any tabs because this is the correct copy. I annotated the wrong one that Amazon put the cover on upside down and also put the book in backwards. So that's the reason for that. Basically, this is the book where the entire world knows about them now, and everyone's so mad at Sully. She's like actually relevant in the media now because Reich and Daisy protected her and Winona both from the media their whole lives. So basically now she is really famous in the media because everyone's like so torn up and freaking out about the poly relationship. So she's having to struggle with that and deal with this new normal for her, and it's like really stressing her out. And then she's also, spoiler warning, but also not really because you find out literally on the first page, she's pregnant in this book. So that's fun. And they decided to not know which of the two baby it was until birth. So that's just something that they chose to do. So she has that going on as well, and just, this book was a mess, and it was also kind of like really sad. And I gave it a 3.75. Fearless Like Us was a 4, by the way. I kind of forgot to say that. And now we move on to the last 3 books of the series, which are Luna and Donnelly's books. And I just have to say, I finished all 3 of them in 1 week. That's how good they were. I could not put them down. Luna and Donnelly are my favorite couple. Luna is my favorite girl out of the 2nd gen characters. Misfits Like Us follows Luna and Donnelly, as I already said. Basically, at this point, Donnelly is Xander's bodyguard now. Throughout the entire series, everyone switches, like, bodyguards. And Luna is another Hale. She's Xander's older sister, so you can see how that connects. And basically what happened was, in the timeline of Tangled Like Us, Donnelly gave her head when she was 18 and he was 27. Big age gap, I know. And ever since then, there's kind of been tension between them, and at this point, everyone knows, like, all the bodyguards and all of the older adult, like, 2nd gen characters know. And basically in this book, they start to actually fall in love. And basically what happened that made things escalate more is he now lives in the apartment with them because he kind of got booted out of the bodyguard apartment complex. And so that's why they get closer. And it's just a really big problem because he's the son of meth addicts, which obviously causes worry for Lily and Lo since they are ex-addicts themselves, and doesn't want her hung up in that kind of thing. And Lo just also absolutely hates Donnelly with a passion. So you can see how that's a conflict. And basically at the end of this book, Lo tells them they can't be together. And that goes into this book that's also about Luna and Donnelly. And so they deal with that. And basically I can't even tell you anything about this book without spoiling it. So just know that I read Unlucky Like Us, and then it was a 4.75. This one was a 5, by the way. And then that I read Nobody Like Us, and it was also a 5, and that this book is like so long and it was so perfect, and we got to see the high school characters even more, and we got to see snippets of the ones who have confirmed love interests already for the future in this, and it was just so amazing and so good. This one has to be my favorite. Like, Lovers Like Us and this one, they're my favorites. Favorites. A perfect way to end a 13 book series, in my opinion. I took a short little break, and now we are back for August is where we are at this point, and honestly, I did not realize I read this many books in August. But first one we have here is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. The movie comes out on January 9th, and I am so gonna watch it. I'm very excited, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 3.5, which doesn't really sound like a lot, but in my mind, that isn't a bad rating. But this book wasn't like the most amazing thing I've read either. Like, there's one TikToker that I follow who's my age who says that this is her favorite book ever, and this doesn't give favorite book ever vibes to me, but it was still, like I said, really good. Basically, this book follows Poppy and Alex, and they've been going on vacation together every single year for several years since they met in college, but then 2 years ago they stopped talking to each other completely, and then in the present timeline, she texts him because she misses him a lot and asks him to go on another trip with her, but the old way before she got her current job, because basically her job is she reviews locations that she travels to. So for the past few years, their trips have kind of been different because everything's been paid for them, and it's been super extravagant and fancy, but it used to be like really cheap and more fun because they were on a budget. So she asks if they can go on another trip that's done that way. So they go and they do that, and they reconnect, and they go to his brother's wedding together because that was happening around the same time. And, you know, it's friends to lovers, and it's just really cute. One thing, though, when I saw people talking about this on a podcast when they reviewed this book, is that the reason why they stopped talking for 2 years was so stupid and so immature. So I wouldn't expect much from it because they make it such a big deal. It wasn't that deep. Like, it was never that serious, and was something they could have just talked through and solved in 5 minutes, and everything would have gone back to normal and everything would have been fine. But they just didn't do that. So that's kind of annoying, but yeah, it does go through the 2 different timelines here because we get to see them on their past trips and before the trips too, when they met in college, and it's very nice, very cute and adorable, and a fun little summer read. Then I read The Do-Over by Lynn Painter, and this is my least favorite out of her books that I've read, but I still did give it a 3. So it wasn't a bad book at all. It's really short too, and it was also just very different from what I normally read. Basically, it's the Groundhog Day trope where she repeats Valentine's Day over and over again, and every single time, no matter what she does, Emily keeps running into this guy from her school named Nick Stark, and things just keep happening in different ways but the same outcome every single time. And then at the end, kind of, she decides she's just done with this and is just gonna do a day where she doesn't care, and she does like all sorts of horrible, risky things, and of course, naturally, that's the day that sticks. That's the day that doesn't get erased from everyone's head, which really sucked, and I was like, no. Okay, next up after that, we have Frigid by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book isn't popular on TikTok either. I just picked it up because I saw it at BJ's one day, read the back, and was like, oh my goodness, I want to read that, and then got it months later. This was only a 2.75, and again, not because it was bad, because it was forgettable. And basically, it's a childhood best friends to lovers, and it's kind of the situation where they're 20 now, and the guy is sleeping around, and it breaks the girl's heart to pieces because he has no clue that she likes him and is really oblivious. So it's like one of those. And basically they go on a fun snow trip to like a little cabin together, and things arise. I'll read the back. No one could replace me in his life. I knew that. I was the friend who knew everything about him and whom he trusted above everyone else. For 21-year-old Sydney Bell, being in love with Kyler isn't anything new. They've been best friends ever since she pushed her down on the playground and she made him eat a mud pie. Somewhere over the years, she fell for him and fell hard. The problem, he's never stayed with a girl for longer than a few nights, and with it being their last year of college, Sydney won't risk their friendship by declaring her feelings. Meanwhile, Kyler has always put Sydney on a pedestal too high to reach. To him, she's everything, but he's hidden away his feelings, drowning them in other girls instead. After all, Kyler will always be the poor boy from the wrong side of the tracks, and Sid will always be the best thing he can never have. But when they're stranded together at a posh ski resort after a massive snowstorm, there's nothing stopping their red-hot feelings from finally coming to the surface. Can their friendship survive the attraction? Better yet, can they survive at all? Because as the snow falls, someone is stalking them, and this trip may be a life-changer in more ways than one. I kind of forgot the stalker that, kind of almost killed her. That was, really weird. Yeah. So that's fun. Okay, these are the best books from August. Ow. So, we have this duology. The first book is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Oh, pain, and more pain. Search for trigger warnings for this one, because basically it's about this girl named Eden, and it starts the morning after her brother's 20-something-year-old best friend raped her. She's 14, by the way. And basically, she wakes up. It's a few days after Christmas. That's why him and her brother are home from college right now. And she's acting weird. Obviously, she has an attitude. Her parents don't know what's going on. Her brother doesn't know what's going on. And they all don't even bother to, ask if she's okay. Her mom just assumed when she saw blood all over her sheets that she got her period. Her dad just doesn't care at all. He, doesn't say anything. And then her brother, meanwhile, accuses her of acting out because of her crush that she's had on his best friend Kevin for years. And basically, this just goes throughout all of her high school years and her dealing with her trauma and changing herself completely, and just, her with her friends and her sleeping around a ton. And, at the beginning, she met this guy named Josh and was sleeping with him even though he's much older than her, because she lied and told him that she was 16. But then on her birthday, he found out otherwise, so things ended with them there for now. And, everyone ends up finding out at the end what happened to her, so it's time to go to court. And then the second book, The Way I Am Now, we actually get to see with her dealing with court trials and everything, because there's a, practice trial, and then at the very end of the book is the real trial. We don't get to find out if he is sentenced or not, by the way. We just kind of assume that he was for our own sanity. And then this book, she also is in college, and she ended up going to the same college as Josh, and they fall back in love again, and we ignore the fact that she was 17 and he was 20 for the sake of the book. We turn a blind eye. It didn't happen. She's older, I promise. Yeah. Anyway, this is a really good book. And surprisingly, I actually like the first one better, which is funny because this one is the one that isn't technically a romance book, and this one is. But I gave this one 4, and then this one was 5. So, really good, really sad. And people compare Eden to Lizzie a lot. Lizzie Young from Releasing Tennis. And it's very true. They are very similar. Then I read something that's 10 times happier, thank goodness. I read I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. I've read her books before. And basically, this follows Sadie and Julius, and they absolutely hate each other and are academic rivals. And what happens was, it basically, the way the author has always described it, is as a reverse to All the Boys I've Loved Before, because she was writing hate letters about people from school, and they ended up getting leaked. And the person she wrote hate letters the most about was him. So, they go out, he reads them, and they end up being forced to do a bunch of stuff around school together by the principal, because her letters kind of started a frenzy of like a bunch of bad stuff happening in the school because people are obviously mad about the letters and everything, so they do that and then they fall in love. This was the cutest book ever, guys. It was so good. I gave it a 4. Yeah, it's amazing. I don't think about it that much, but it was very cute. I would recommend it 100%. Last book of August, we have Play With Me by Becca Mack. I don't even remember what number book this is, but it's one of the books in the Playing for Keeps series, but I only read this one. And basically it's another brother's best friend, you know, hockey romance. And I also only added this to my list because I saw a TikTok about it of a certain scene where he was like dying and was like so nervous and like chugging a glass of water and all this stuff because she asked him to zip up her dress. And I thought that was really funny and cute, so that's why I read it. And I also don't really remember much except for the fact that they ended up living in the same apartment complex once again, like other books that we've mentioned. So that's why they got a little bit closer, but I'll read the back. Garrett Anderson knows that playing professional hockey requires absolute dedication to the rules. There's just one rule he's finding very difficult to follow. Stay away from the captain's younger sister. As a professional dancer, Jenny Beckett knows what it takes to excel. She prides herself on being every bit as confident and bold as her brother, sassy as hell, and the only person in charge of her pleasure. No wonder Garrett can't stay away from her even if he forgets how to form sentences whenever she's around. When they become neighbors, Jenny and Garrett resolve to keep their distance from each other, but after several embarrassing run-ins, the connection between them only grows, so they decide to have some fun, no strings attached. But what if their feelings get in the way? After all, they're only supposed to be playing with each other. So, there you have it. And I remember, too, there was something that happened to her when she was in high school that made her traumatized, and she hadn't had sex since high school in this book and was very hesitant with him because of that thing that happened. So I also only gave this a 3 because I once again did not think about it ever again after I closed the book on the final page. Probably should do something to fix this, but I have no clue what. Some books are just forgettable. Okay, moving on to September, we're taking a quick visit back to the Addicted Calloway universe because then the first book in Cobalt Empire came out. And that is Burn Bright. I'm so sad because my cover got all messed up because I have it at the very bottom, like the very end of this bottom shelf, because that's where Addicted Calloway and Like Us are. So apparently it's been getting squished this entire time. That's awful. That makes me so upset. It's fine though, because at least I have the sprayed edges. They're so pretty. Anyway, this follows Ben Cobalt, which is the youngest Cobalt boy, and Harriet Fisher, and she is basically a girl that Tom Cobalt absolutely does not like at all because she tried to audition to be his drummer for his band when she was under 18, when they specifically said that she had to be 18 to do it. And then once she turned 18, she sent him another email begging to be a part of the band. So he just like really is irritated with her. So there's a little problem with that. And basically Ben and Harriet went to the same college before in Pennsylvania, but then they also both moved to New York and started going to NYU right before this book. So that's where we are now, and we see a lot of Xander in this book, but we don't see Luna, which is like my number one complaint because of having to avoid touching on a certain subject and also avoiding introducing too many characters. In case you haven't read the other books before this one like you're supposed to. So that just makes me really upset. It's a 3.75, and honestly, this book was really good, but it also was kind of disappointing because I was looking so forward to it, and I just feel like it didn't live up to my expectations all the way, if I'm being completely honest, but they were still really cute. I love that it explored some little mental health issues with Ben over here because he had something going on. Not gonna say any spoilers, but yeah, it was friends to lovers, just like a basic little story there. We saw more Wednesday night dinners, which I was happy about. We saw a lot of Audrey, which I was also happy about, and just the Cobalt brother dynamic made me happy. But that's really all I have to say about that, because it really was just a basic little meeting in college, friends to lovers story with that little Tom aspect. And then I read Throttled by Lauren Asher. This is the second book. No, it's the first book in a Interconnect Alone F1 driver series, but I only read this one. And basically it's about Maya and Noah. And Noah is Maya's brother's number one enemy, but now they're on the same, like, racing team and are trying to get along, but it isn't really working. So that's the conflict there. I'm gonna have to read the back for this one too. Basically, Throttled was a 3. Noah. Maya Alator is the sister of my teammate and my new obsession. Keeping my distance during the Formula 1 season should be easy, except I always find ways to see her. Press tours, pre-race rituals, sponsor events, and black tie galas. The more time we spend together, the stronger my desire grows. Sneaking around with her is one thing, but wanting more, never going to happen. She might be a distraction, dressed like a daydream, but no woman is worth whisking the championship title over her, so I thought. Noah Slade is Formula 1 royalty and my brother's biggest rival. When I'm invited to join my sibling while he competes for the world championship, I promise to avoid Noah at all costs. 21 races, 2 drivers who hate each other, and 1 forbidden attraction I can't ignore. Developing feelings for each other wasn't my plan. For Noah wasn't part of my plan, but then again, neither was anyone finding out. Turns out the man I was warned about happens to be the one I can't stay away from, even if he breaks my heart once the season comes to an end. I was just kind of itching to finish it after a certain point. I don't know. I just got kind of bored and it was a little repetitive. Then I read the King of Sin series, which had been on my list for literally ages since I read the Twisted series in early 2024. First book in the series, we have King of Wrath, which I gave a 3. And this follows Dante and Vivian, and basically they are arranged to be married because Vivian's parents were mad that she hadn't fallen in love and married somebody rich yet. So that's, like, really unfortunate. And there's this one guy who she was with and wanted to marry, but they weren't, like, but he wasn't rich enough and fancy enough for her parents, so they had to break up. Quickly, Dante agrees to marrying Vivian because her father did something and has something over his head and is blackmailing him. But they do hate each other at first, so it is like an enemies to lovers. And then we have King of Pride. This is about Isabella and Kai, and basically they just keep running into each other in the secret spot at the Valhalla Club. And she also works at the Valhalla Club, which is a problem because they're not supposed to, like, be involved with each other. That's against the rules, so she could get fired, so that's a really big... And then also basically Kai is trying to avoid distractions because he is trying to be voted the CEO of his family's company, and he's, like, really scared that he's gonna lose because it would be, like, really embarrassing for him to lose the vote for his family's company over someone that's not related to him at all. And one thing that I will say is this man was so in love. Like, so in love and obsessed. It was so cute and it was great. Also, a lot of people say that they don't like this one, but I don't really understand. Like, they say it was boring, but I wasn't bored. Okay, but I gave that one also a 3. And now we have the 5-star one, and this one is my favorite, and that seems to be, like, the most popular opinion, King of Greed. Basically, this one is about Dominic and Alessandra. And basically, they are married already. They've been married for 10 years, but he cares about his job more than her and focuses on that more than her, so she, like, barely even sees him. And when she does, she'll like ask him how his day at work was, and he won't really, like, give her any answer. He'll give her, like, 1-word answers and that's it. And then her final straw is when he misses their 10-year anniversary. Like, they were supposed to fly out and go on a trip, and he didn't show up to go on the trip until hours later when she had already left. And before she left, she took off her ring and just left it there, packed up her stuff, and went to her parents' house. She said, "I am done." So they ended up getting a divorce after he was being very defiant and refusing to get a divorce because she threatened to take him to court on this. And then he basically just spends the entire book groveling and trying his hardest to get her back and prove that it won't be the same as how it had been. And basically this entire thing with him being greedy came from the fact that he was poor growing up and just really wanted to have a lot of money when he was older and to be able to give Alessandra the life that she deserved. And this book was just really amazing. I cried so many times, like I was already in tears basically. I would have been in tears if I wasn't reading it at school, but I was this close to tears on like page 2. That's how sad this was, and pulled so many emotions out of me. It was great. Next up we have King of Sloth, which follows Sloane and Xavier, or apparently his name could be pronounced Javier. I don't even know, because I never even thought that until I saw somebody pronounce his name that way and say that's how it was pronounced, and I was like, huh? Like, what do you mean? But anyway, Sloane is basically his publicist. He isn't like famous or anything, but he still needs one because he's like, his family is super rich and well known basically, so he needs a publicist to keep his reputation intact, except he doesn't exactly do a very good job about that because he parties a lot and he's like very lazy, and she is just trying her best to help him. And basically what happens was his parents like wanted him to take over his family's empire like his dad did. His mom's dead, but he had no interest in doing that. And this is another situation where she's like really annoyed with him. I wouldn't say hates him, but like they don't get along, but then, you know, they do. This was a 3.5. Now we move on to the last book, and we're in November now. King of Envy was a 4.75. It almost beat out King of Greed. Like at some points I thought it was going to. Basically this one follows Vuk Morkovic. I have no clue if that's how you pronounce his name, but that's how I say it. And basically he does not talk. He just does sign language or writes things down because he's traumatized. And then we have, why can I not remember the girl's name? Ayana Kadane. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. And basically she is supposed to be marrying his best friend because they have their own little arrangement going on, and they were like already friends beforehand, so they were like, why not, we can get married, this can work. And it's because his grandma really wants him to get married, and then the entire deal is that she will get money if they get married, and she wants to be released from her modeling agency because they treat her horribly. So that's why she agreed to it. And Vuk is madly in love with her and has to deal with the fact that she's marrying his best friend, and he thinks that they're actually in love. So the yearning. It was so cute. I love this book so much. It was amazing. We had a little don't marry him moment towards the end. He ends up, this is kind of a spoiler, so if you don't want to know anything, then don't watch this part. He ends up talking for the first time in years to her, and she ends up being like the only person that he'll talk to. And then next after that we have a 5-star read again. We have another Miss Lynn Painter, Fake Skating, that I read because it came out in like September. I didn't get to read it until November because I had all of these other books to read, and I could not wait. And it did not only match my expectations, but it exceeded them. Everything about this book was perfect. Well, I'm not going to say that. Everything about it was perfect, except it did end with there still being some unanswered questions and things that didn't get like resolved, and things that I still did not know that maybe Lynn Painter just forgot about. I don't know. Basically, this follows Danny and Alec, and they were childhood best friends, and then they were each other's first kiss when they were 12, and then afterwards they both like think that the other stopped writing to each other because of a big miscommunication. So he absolutely hates her now when they're seniors in high school, and she hasn't been to the town in years because of a big blow up that happened between like her dad and her grandpa on her mom's side. But now they're back because her parents divorced, so now they need to live with said grandpa that they had the falling out with, and she's going to Alec's school now. And she like sees him multiple times, but she doesn't know that it's him because he gets referred to as Zeus because he's like really good at hockey and everything, and he's just not the same guy that she knows. He looks really different now and is like all cool, and he used to be like really nerdy and dorky and used to follow her around everywhere like a little puppy. And they just end up getting close again, even though he's trying his hardest to not get close to her because he's hurt. And then, you know, they fall in love. It's really cute. Just basic YA Len Painter book goodness. And it was just so amazing, and I loved everything about it so much. And I also loved that this is like the first character that looks like me, because she has blonde hair and wears glasses and has blue eyes as well. I'm pretty sure I remember that. So that was really exciting for me. And there's also this whole thing too where she had changed as well because she got bullied when she was in middle school, so it caused her to have social anxiety now, which she didn't have before. So Alec was kind of like worried about her in that sense. And there was also just kind of them kind of switching places, because she used to be the confident one and he was kind of shy, and then they just like flipped around during their time apart. So that was fun. I kind of forgot somehow to mention, but fake skating, they ended up fake dating because his coach walked in on them like having a moment that looked bad when it really wasn't anything. He was just comforting her because he saw her crying. And so they had to fake date because of that, because basically her grandpa is like a old retired famous hockey player, so if they were dating it would look good on Alec's behalf instead of badly on his behalf, like it would have been if she was literally anybody else that he was caught in the locker room with, because he's really trying to get a scholarship for college and to become a professional hockey player. So that's why that entire thing begins. Next we have The Defender, and this is the first book in Gods of the Game series, and basically it follows Vincent in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is the daughter of the football team, or soccer, because they're in the UK, so that's why I said football. The football team's coach's daughter, and then Vincent is the captain, and basically they really don't like each other, or at least she doesn't like him, but then he ends up having to be her roommate because he has a stalker that knows where he lives, and he's scared and didn't have anywhere else to go. So forced proximity again, a living together situation again, and they just end up falling in love. And her dad is absolutely furious, despite the fact that they never really had that good of a relationship. And she has a horrible relationship with her mother as well. And then he also has certain thoughts and feelings about his birth parents, since him and Scarlett, who was the girl in the first book, were both adopted. And basically what makes things escalate between them is they are both competitive, so they arrange a bet to see who will kiss the other first. So then they kind of start torturing each other and trying to get the other to lose the bet and go ahead and kiss them. And now moving on to December, the first book I read in December was Twilight, but I don't have it with me because it was something that my friend got me to read. And it's kind of funny because she forced me to read it when I really didn't want to, because I couldn't get past the movie, and it ended up being a 5-star. I know. Well, I'm glad that she made me read it. It was really good. I think everyone knows the story of Twilight, Edward and Bella, vampires, all of that stuff. So I read that, and I really enjoyed it. It was really cute. I made some TikToks about it as well. And I tried to watch the movie again and couldn't get through it because things were happening in a different order than they did in the book, and it irritated me. So I was like, I'm done with this. And I was also bored. So I didn't continue. But at least the book was good. Then I picked up Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher, which is the second book in Lakefront Billionaires. I didn't read the first one. And I gave this a 4 stars. And basically it follows Raphael, and he has this 9-year-old son named Nico, and Ellie is Nico's nanny. And basically Raphael is really paranoid of falling in love again and doesn't want to get married again or anything like that because of his wife cheating on him. And said wife, Hillary, also refuses to see Nico, and it's really annoying and everything. So he's like really hesitant about that, has really bad communication issues, and he's just like a traumatized man with also trust issues because of everything that happened. And then Nico also is slowly going blind, so that was really sad and made me cry at some points. Lee also had a crush on Raphael when they were in high school. When he was a senior though, and she was a freshman, so they never really crossed paths, and he didn't really know her then. But he did end up finding about her crush in high school because he got suspicious, and then her parents outed her. It was really funny. and her parents outing her was the clip that I saw on TikTok that made me want to read it. Except this time it wasn't a disappointment. Go in Hawaii together. That's when things escalate. They went to Hawaii as a vacation. Then I haven't actually finished this, but look how little I have left. That's literally it. It's like 30 pages left. So I'll finish it by the end of today. So that's why it's going to be in this video. But it's Love Arranged. Basically, this follows Lorenzo and Lily. And Lorenzo is Lily's childhood, like, family friend slash her older sister Dahlia's boyfriend's #1 enemy, and so that causes a problem. And then basically Lily and Lorenzo first met from like talking to each other as different names on a dating app. So we have that trope again where they know each other in real life but are also talking on a dating app, not knowing it's each other. And basically when they met up and found out, they like kissed and stuff, and then he pulled away from her and ended things right then and there because he was scared to get close to her because he has OCD and tends to have obsessive tendencies, and didn't want to get obsessed with her and in love. So that's just been a really big conflict throughout the book. And basically what happens here that makes things start up between them again almost an entire year after the dating app fiasco is that he's running for mayor and he needs a fake fiance to help the polls go up. And he originally had gotten the dating app for that purpose but didn't want to use her as the fake fiance because he liked her too much. But she ends up volunteering for it herself when she finds out about it because she also really wants him to win mayor because she also has a problem with the family of the person who's running for mayor. So they end up doing that after all, and then she ends up falling for him again, and so does he. And it's really good so far. I'll probably give it about the same as Love Unwritten. I think Love Unwritten was better, maybe, just slightly. I don't know. I think I like them pretty much the same, so this will probably end up being a 4 itself. But I do recommend these two, and I'm sure the first book is probably good as well. I've seen people say they don't like the first book, though, so I don't know. But what we've seen of Julian and Dahlia in these 2 books that I have read, I've liked them, so I don't know what's wrong with their book then to make people not like it. But I'm not going to read it. There's really no point now, and I have too many books that I got for Christmas and stuff that I need to read, so no time for that. Hopefully this video wasn't too long after I edit it down at least. It feels like I've been recording forever, though, so hopefully you didn't get bored and leave. So that's it. Bye-bye. So sorry, but I forgot to do the outro without showing the book I DNF'd. Basically, it was One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. It was another try at me trying to do romantasy. And it basically just got really repetitive. So I could not continue. I was so bored and I just wasn't into it anymore. But it was okay at first. Basically, it's about... Is her name Sasha? It was something like that. And Lev. And they're from enemy families, and so it was kind of like a Romeo and Juliet type situation there.